Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Enhancement Shaman Supplemental Guide. My name is Tuskeh, and in this video we shall be supplementing the Enhancement Shaman Guide. I apologise for it being a bit late. I've been pretty busy with some other guides, some stuff going on, all that stuff. But in this video we shall be basically going over everything that we talked about in the Enhancement Shaman Guide, the rotation, AoE and single target DPS, using our utility abilities, just doing that in a 5-man. That's basically going to be it. It's going to be done live, no editing, and today we are going to be helped by a fellow known as Bear of Bark. He is one of my patrons, and he is just generally awesome, which means that we can get a nice fast queue so that we don't have to sit here for 20 minutes waiting. Now, let's quickly discuss some of our abilities that we'll be using before we jump in. Of course, I'll be including an annotation on screen right now if you want to go back to the Enhancement Shaman Guide so that you can see exactly how everything works. But generally, our rotation on single target is going to be Unleash Elements because we have the Unleashed Fury talent. We are then going to be trying to keep Flame Shock up on our target. We will be using Storm Strike and Lava Lash on cooldown and then filling in with Frost Shock. Whenever we have either our Ancestral Swiftness or a 5-stack of Maelstrom weapon, we will be using Lightning Bolt. When that goes up to 2 or more targets, we shall be trying to use Fire Nova on cooldown, spreading Flame Shock with Lava Lash, and of course replacing Lightning Bolt with Chain Lightning. And once all that happens and we get into loads of enemies, which is going to be very likely on the trash, we're going to be focusing entirely on Fire Nova to get as much damage out of it as we can to deal the maximum amount of damage. Of course, we'll also be using Liquid Magma, which is an important ability that I keep, for some reason, seeming to forget. That one needs to be used on cooldown. I'll try and keep that on cooldown as much as I can. But other than that, there are also a few abilities that we have that aren't for damage. For instance, Healing Stream Totem. Really great. It's just a totem that smart heals people. It's very helpful. We've got Healing Surge for quick healing. It does waste our mana quite quickly, as you can see there. However, it does regenerate fairly fast, and if we use it with a Maelstrom weapon, it's free and much stronger, which is great. We have Earth Elemental for tanking enemies, where we're using it because of the cooldown, and we have a Healing Rain, Purify Spirit, Purge, Ancestral Guidance, all kinds of different things to get us going. Of course, Earth Grab Totem, Tremor Totem, and Grounding Totem, also very important. Excuse me. Now, let's get started. Let's jump straight in. Now, this is going to be quite interesting, I think, because I haven't played Enhancement Shaman for a while, and if you are a veteran Enhancement Shaman, you may notice some mistakes that I make, which is great, because if I make the mistakes, then you don't have to make them. So, we're going to queue up here and get started. I will just quickly jump through this with a bit of an edit. Alright, so we have the Bloodmaw Stalagmines as our heroic for the day. So we'll start off with our Lightning Shield. Let's see who our tank is, of course. Bear of Bark, which is going to be good. And then our healer, where are you? Our healer is right here. Okay, so it looks like this is all good. So we will start with our Magma Totem. Going to move that forward. Going to immediately spread Flame Shock with Lava Lash. Going to move forward here. Make sure that we use our Totemic Projection whenever we can to move everything forwards. Going to use our Fire Nova on cooldown as much as is humanly possible, enhancing it with our Unleashed Fury. Very important there. So it looks like we've been stunned. We will... didn't have that glyph there. See, the glyph of Shamanistic Rage would have broken that, which I don't seem to have it active right now, which is a bit of a mistake on my part, but that's just fine. So we'll put down a Grounding Totem to help deal with that. Intro this suppression field, and then continue with the Fire Nova Glory. We will then we're trying to keep Fire Nova on cooldown as much as possible right now. And we will, now that we're back to single target, we'll just use our Unleash Elements and just go back into our rotation, trying to keep everything on cooldown. That's the most important thing, because the Enhancement Shaman has lots of different sources of damage, and those different sources of damage, just going to throw down a Healing Stream Totem here to help the group a little bit as we move forwards. Those multiple sources of damage are very important that you keep on top of them all, because otherwise you're just going to struggle. Your DPS is going to be fairly low. We got out DPS by a Paladin there, and of course that might have something to do with the fact that I haven't played for a while, so hopefully you folks can forgive me for that. So we're just going to spread our Flame Shock here. We're going to use our Fire Nova. We're going to activate Liquid Magma at this point to get lots and lots of damage out, making sure we stay behind the targets as much as we can, because we are melee. That is basically our duty, to stay behind targets as much as possible to keep them from parrying us, which just reduces our damage, which sucks. So at this point, we're just going to make sure, at this point we've got everything on cooldown, but we have a Chain Lightning available for free because of Ancestral Swiftness, which is great, and then we will finish this off, nearly with a Frost Shock. So we're just going to refresh our Magma Totem, And it looks like we don't want to pull here. So we want to make sure we don't aggro these guys until the tank is ready, which is now. So we'll move forward. We'll pop down our capacitor totem to help out. And then we will spread Flame Shock, throw in our Chain Lightning, use our Unleash, and then start spamming our Fire Nova as much as is humanly possible. This Fire Nova is very important. Going to interrupt that. Is make sure you always use your interrupts and any kind of additional abilities that you have. And you have a lot of them as any kind of shaman. So it's very important that you use them as much as you can. So making sure we are getting the absolute most out of our abilities at this point. So we're just going to quickly use our Unleash Elements, spread our Flame Shock, and then continue the Fire Nova. It looks like they're a little bit spread out, but oh, now they are not. So we can respread our Flame Shock and continue to apply the Fire Nova, which is the majority of our damage. It's important that we remember that. So we're just going to interrupt that suppression field, making sure we keep an eye on the enemy cast bars. Going to refresh our Magma Totem before it all goes to bollocks. And we'll just get off one more Fire Nova as the last couple of enemies die. Go into our single target rotation. And that's all good. So as you can see, I have loads of different ways of dealing damage, and we'll just interrupt you from range. So we want to go in here, use our Storm Strike. That wasn't entirely necessary, so we've now spread this, and looks like we've actually got a bit of CC going out there, which is a little bit of a shame, but we'll just continue to do our rotation. And looks like Frightening Roar's coming in. We'll pop down our Tremor Totem there. Wasn't much better to react to that by interrupting it, but because I noticed I wouldn't be able to react in time, I just popped down my Tremor Totem. Nice, easy response there that could have potentially threatened the tank. And actually, the tank is in a little bit of threat right now, because this pack hits fairly hard, so we're going to use our Ancestral Guidance to help heal him up a little bit. So, very important that we do it as much as we can to help support the group. And I'm kind of focusing a little bit on my rotation at the moment, because I'm just trying to get back into the swing of it a little bit. But at the same time, you want to think very heavily about how you use your other abilities. So we'll throw down a Capacitor Totem at this point. Get our Fire Nova Totem out. Use our Frost Shock there just to keep ourselves busy. Looks like we just got in range with that stun, which is great. We'll interrupt that Frightening Roar. Our Tremor Totem will not probably be available for the next one, which is a bit of a shame, but hopefully it should be all good. We'll use our Liquid Magma at this point just to get it on cooldown and help speed this up a bit. Now, Liquid Magma is fine for using on single targets like this. It might have been a better idea to save it for the boss, but it's absolutely fine to use it on single targets. It's fairly decent on single target. Now, let's quickly talk about our rotation. So we're going to start with our Unleashed Fury there. Going to pop all of our cooldowns. Going to charge in here. We're not going to use Bloodlust at this point, though. Actually, yes, we are, because this is the first boss, and we want to make sure that we get as much use out of Bloodlust as we can. So we'll interrupt that Ferocious Yell. We'll actually use our Ascendance here at this point as well. As you can see, I'm kind of buggering this up just a little bit, but that's just fine. Want to make sure we move around this Earth Crush. Don't want to get hit by that, because being stunned is a reduction to our DPS, which just sucks. So we will happily continue here, and we will, at this point, use our Liquid Magma, because the Slaves are coming in. Interrupt this next Ferocious Yell. Spread our Flame Shock. Get some AoE damage going here. Make sure that's all good, and it looks like the miners are gone, so just go back to our single target rotation, nice and fast. And we've got another spread here, and it looks like we just missed that a little bit. We'll move over to these miners a little bit, just throw in that extra little bit of damage there. We've spread our Fire Nova, got in the Fire Nova there, which is great. Flame Shock is all over the place, which is just what we want. Again, making sure we avoid mechanics, and boss dies. Lovely. Nice 1 minute fight, nice and fast. So we'll just throw down a Healing Stream Totem and use our Maelstrom Weapon to put down a healing rain for people to run through as we move on to the next area. So we'll probably be moving to the left here. Looks like we are. So that's all good. And yeah, like I said, I'm not a master of the Enhancement Shaman. In fact, I don't claim to be a master of any class of this game. I just do whatever I can, and although I am a little bit rusty here, it is important that you keep an eye on exactly what I'm doing, and when I make mistakes, you can pause in there and fast forward and slow down this video as much as you want. So we'll put down the Magma Totem, move that in, make sure that it doesn't get aggro, and there we go. Okay, all sorted. We'll interrupt you and spread our Flame Shock for Fire Nova as much as we can. We'll save this Lava Lash until everyone's in range. Yep, there we go. And then we will get out our Capacitor Totem and use a Liquid Magma now that the enemies are all together. We will use a couple of quick Chain Lightnings there. And the tank's taking a bit of damage, so we will also use our Ancestral Guidance here to keep things nice and healthy. So it looks pretty good at this point. We will just use a last Chain Lightning here. We'll actually get our Flame Shock spread again. sometimes you can find yourself in really awkward situations where you have to wait actually quite a while to spread your Flame Shock, which is a bit... that can be really kind of debilitating. So it's very important that you consider how best to spread your Flame Shock, and actually consider saving your Lava Lash a little bit, just to... It looks like we're going to pull a little bit more here, so that Searing Totem was not necessary. We've got a bit of aggro here, so we'll actually use our survivability cooldowns to make sure we don't die here, so that's all good. So get the Magma Totem out. Got the Liquid Magma going. Make sure we're using our lovely Maelstrom weapon here whenever we can to get these Chain Lightnings out. And that's all good. Now, if you end up having to cast a spell with maybe like 4 stacks here, so we actually have that small cast there, make sure you do that, because it is a DPS gain as opposed to just sitting there doing nothing. And using a 1 stack or higher cast of Lightning Bolt is much better than just sitting there auto-attacking. So it's very important that we remember that. So we will again use our Magma Totem, move it forwards here. The tank's going to be charging forwards, so there's going to be lots of damage coming out here. We will spread our Flame Shock here. Here comes the loads and loads of numbers here. We're spreading it as much as we can. Gonna keep this going. Gonna use a couple of Chain Lightnings here. Just gonna move our Magma Totem forward a little bit. Again, gonna spread our Flame Shock as much as we possibly can. Here comes another unstable Magma Elemental. We will actually just use it to spread our Flame Shock at this point. So it looks like everything is going just fine. We'll refresh the cooldown of Flame Shock on you. And then we will put down another Searing Totem, move it forwards, and activate Liquid Magma. So now we're doing a whole bunch of damage here. Actually, it looks like we just made a minor mistake there, and our Totem actually just got killed. So we will put down the Searing Totem again. Sorry, put down the Magma Totem again, and just start throwing out a couple of heals on our tank here, who is getting a little bit low. Make sure that you actually consider doing things like that, because if you don't, the tank dies and then everyone else dies, and you don't want that. We'll make sure to interrupt this guy as well. So everything is looking okay. I'm just going to keep our camera a bit high here to watch for stuff on the floor. Going to spread that again, and here comes the next wave. So we will reapply Flame Shock, spread it, and then use our Fire Nova to do loads of damage here. So just going to finish this guy up with the last Frost Shock, and that's all good. So just make sure you reapply Magma Totem in between each pull. Make sure the tank has aggro, and then pop it in, because you don't want it getting killed early, which sucks. We're going to actually save our Liquid Magma for the next trash pack, which is easily the hardest trash pack in this place. So we're going to have to be a bit careful about that. So right now, just focusing entirely upon having as much uptime on our Fire Nova as we can, because that is by far our most damaging ability. So looks like this all good. We've just got a couple more of these little guys to handle. It looks like we won't be able to spread our Flame Shock, so we'll just kill them single target here. Alright, so we've got another pack coming in here. Hopefully we can kill them before the next pack spawns, because this is actually fairly dangerous. So, okay, we've actually started moving in here. So what we're going to do now is we'll pop down our Capacitor Totem, move it in, spread Flame Shock, activate Liquid Magma, keep an eye on the Blood Maul Warder on the right here, make sure that we are actually interrupting his shout whenever we can, because this is by far the nastiest pack here, so we want to use as much as we can. Make sure we interrupt that Frightening Roar. That is a killer. You've got to be very careful about that. Looks like we Chain Lightninged a little bit carelessly there, and it didn't get to spread, but that's fine. So we'll just happily kill this guy. So we actually did a lot there to help save the group. We interrupted the Fear, which could very well have stun-locked everyone to death. We stunned all of the enemies right as we jumped in, so that's all good. We'll throw in a heal onto our tank and put down a Healing Stream Totem to help everything else. So that's good. We'll now use a Feast here, because Bear has decided to put one down for us, which is lovely, jubbly. And for this fight, it's actually fairly melee unfriendly. There's a lot of stuff we have to think about not standing in. And in situations like that, you'll notice I did it earlier when we were fighting the Magma Fury just behind that bonfire. So one thing to do... the Paladin is very happy right now. So one thing to think about when you've got a lot of stuff on the ground, you need to make sure you're not standing in it, is to just tilt your camera up like this, so you can see directly over your character. So it's very important that you think about that. Alright, so looks like the tank is about to go in. So we'll use our Spirit Walls here. Not a big deal, because we actually don't need too many cooldowns for this first phase, because it's not too intense. So again, think about the fight, think about how your spells relate to it. So we'll throw down our spells here. Make sure we... Yep, we haven't taken aggro there, which is nice. So we now have a Flame Shock on both of these guys, and we will continue doing this. So it looks like the tank has lost a little bit of aggro here, so we'll just throw in a quick heal to our friendly Paladin. Make sure we spread our Flame Shock again, interrupt this Firestorm. Looks like we weren't able to do that, so we're going to take a fair amount of damage here. We'll use a couple of survivability cooldowns to help survive this. A little bit of a mistake on my part. Should have saved my interrupt for that Firestorm, but that's all fine. Alright, so that's all sorted, and this first phase is now over. So at this point, he's about to die. Any damage on him is pointless, so we'll throw down a healing rain, we'll throw down a healing stream totem, we will get out our fire elemental totem, and then go straight onto this guy. We will use our Storm Strike and then immediately pop into Ascendance. One good trick of that is Storm Strike's cooldown gets reset when you enter Ascendance, and because I was talking, I got stunned there. Big mistake on my part. Again, we're going to make sure we keep an eye on our feet here. We'll use our movement speed ability because we need to kill this thing because it does a lot of damage, so we'll just head over here and happily murder it nice and quickly. It's getting loads of damage out there. So make sure we don't charge into this next smash. We'll use our Unleashed Fury there to increase the damage of this entire Flame Shock, which is great. And then at this point, we're just going to happily do our damage rotation. And it looks like everything is good at this point. So we'll just go onto this next Molten Elemental as well, because it seems like we're the only one that's doing it. But it doesn't have much health, so we can blow it up nice and quickly, just like that. So we've avoided the next Slag Smash by doing that as well, which is great. So we're kind of dancing around at this point. And that's what you want to do as an Enhancement Shaman. You want to dance around, make sure you take complete advantage of the fact that you have lots of movement and some ranged attacks, so that's all good. We'll skip this cinematic. Okay, make sure we loot the boss. Okay, and then we will move on. So this run is definitely going pretty well at the moment. We're doing some pretty decent DPS. It's okay. Like I said, I'm not the master of the Enhancement Shaman. It's probably my weakest spec by far. But the whole concept remains the same, because you can watch any guide, really, and it will tell you how to do it. It will say, like, this is how you should use your spells. And in reality, it's much more difficult than that, because unfortunately, you end up... whoops, don't want to aggro that guy there. Oh, looks like our tank got it instead. Don't worry about that quest item back there, by the way. We can always backtrack at the end of it, although that's not a big deal. That's not what this video is about. So, one thing to think about is we have all these different ways to make mistakes in our rotation. And I have made them, which is perfectly fair. It just takes practice to kind of get past that. But one of the main things you need to think about is once you've got that rotation down, and what this guide is trying to teach you is the fact that you have loads of other abilities that can help the group out, like that stun right there, like interrupting that fear, like breaking the fear with Tremor Totem. We'll just use Liquid Magma here to increase our deeps a little bit. And we'll pop down a Grounding Totem just in case he decides to subjugate someone again. Looks like it's a Suppression Field instead, so we'll make sure we don't get hit by that. Nope, it's nice and far away. Okay, wonderful. Make sure you're not standing in things as melee. It's very easy to stand in things as melee. So we'll just pop down a Healing Stream Totem nice and fast here, and then we will fight this little mini-boss. Now, as I was saying, there are lots of little things you can do as any shaman to increase the success rate of your group, essentially. So we'll use a quick cooldown here to help mitigate the damage of that lava spit. Things like that. Things like using your huge toolkit of abilities. They're all very utilitarian, your spells. So make sure you use them, because they're great. They really are. So we'll happily just DPSing this guy down now. We will just use our rotation as much as we can here. Just actually, one note about this is, as you saw there, I just avoided that lava spit entirely. Think about things like that where you can avoid damage without sacrificing your DPS, just like that. And what we're going to do here is we'll try and avoid aggro, and we'll just move forward, and we'll try and CC one of them. It will hold at least for a moment. We'll move this forward, get our Liquid Magma going, and then we'll start with the Fire Novas. So basically, in between each Fire Nova, you have about 2 global cooldowns worth of time. Oh, looks like we got hit by that fear. Did not notice that. My mistake there. Although we got a stun off, which was great. That Capacity Totem kind of countered that. So yes, you have those 2 global cooldowns to think about. So generally, you want to be using like an Unleashed Fury and one other spell in between those. So we'll pop down a Grounding Totem, although it wasn't quite fast enough to save us from that Subjugate. I noticed it casting in the side there, and I popped down the Grounding Totem, but it either absorbed a different spell or failed to... I just got it off at the wrong time, so that's perfectly fine. We interrupted the other Frightening Wall, which is the most important part of this pull. Make sure you're thinking about things like that. Make sure you're always trying to help the group succeed, because your DPS is kind of pointless. I should have purged there, actually, which would have helped, but that's fine. Not a big deal. So we'll throw down the Healing Stream Totem at this point. But yeah, if the group dies, your DPS is pointless. It's meaningless because the group died and you didn't kill the boss. And that's your goal at the end of the day. Your goal at the end of the day is to kill the boss. So we'll move in here, get nice into melee range, activate our Ascendance, and now we want to kind of put our camera in a good position here to avoid these fiery boulders. We want to make sure we stand at the edge of these fiery boulders to make sure we don't get hit by them. So we'll just move across here, and we need to think about where these fiery boulders are going to be coming, because they're going to be coming backwards, which is very important. So that first one's going to be coming in from the side here, and then we will get into its path because the other one's going to be coming in from the right, and then the last one will be coming from the left. Oh, looks like I just got clipped by it there. That's fine. So we'll use our Ancestral Guidance at this point to help the group survive, because they're taking a lot of damage right now from this heat wave and from any boulders that might have hit players. So making sure we just do whatever we can to help the group survive at this point. So right now everything is fine. We'll just fill this hole in our rotation with a quick lightning bolt. Nice and easy. Oh, looks like we actually had to interrupt our spellcast there. Make sure you happily stop cast if it means that you don't get hit by abilities. You need to make sure you move out of those abilities, otherwise you'll die. Especially in a raid, because this is kind of a raid light. There's a lot of stuff here that can kill you if you stand in it repeatedly, but generally you'll be okay. So make sure you think about that. So right now I want to stay behind this guy, and we'll use our liquid magma here. Like I said, its single target utility is pretty decent. It's okay. So right now we're happily just doing our rotation. Nothing too much to think about with this guy. He doesn't really do too much damage to anyone, really, so it's not too much of a big deal. The tank can spike a little bit. Make sure we just keep behind him at all times so we don't get parried, which reduces our DPS and might potentially increase the damage the tank takes. Not entirely sure if parry still works like that anymore, so that's completely fine. Alright, so we're just going to happily move forward here. We'll actually help the group out a little bit by marking one of these Ogron in the distance here. We don't split our DPS, it helps, and it helps the tank know which one, hopefully, most of us will be targeting first. So make sure you do little things like that just to help the group out. And by the way, this add-on I'm using right now is OP, or OPI, my mistake. And these guys actually do a bit of a knockback, so we want to make sure we don't get knocked into lava, as I have shown a tendency to do in the past. So we'll get our liquid magma rolling, spread our flame shock, get our Fire Nova on cooldown as much as we possibly can. We will actually throw out a couple of heals onto the tank. Actually, the one should be just fine. We want to make sure that we don't let them die. I'm pretty sure these guys can actually be stunned. They can on normal mode anyway, because I'm actually leveling the next class for guides, which is cool. But we'll have a look now. It looks like they can be stunned, so that would actually help that helps the tank significantly. So very important that you think about things like that. So it looks like one of them is about to die. We'll use our Spirit Walkers, our Spirit Walk to just move forward nice and fast. So make sure you always use those cooldowns, your movement speed cooldowns, things like Ghost Wolf, your Spirit Walk, to just keep in range. Because if you're not in melee range, you're doing much less damage than if you are. So make sure you think about things like that. So we're in the last boss room now. A couple of trash packs to go before it's all over. So we will, at this point, make sure we want to know what the tank wants to do. It looks like he wants to pull everything. So we will start by spreading our Flame Shock. We'll get our Lava Lash down and our Magma Totem, and we will use our Ancestral Guidance to go with it. So we want to make sure we're not standing in any exploding flames here, and we want to get all this lovely damage out. We'll just interrupt this exploding flames to keep this guy, which we're targeting, as close to the rest of his buddies as we can. So right now, just focusing on keeping the Fire Nova on cooldown as much as possible. Just going to make sure we're not standing in anything. Make sure we kind of keep away from the tank, because the tank is the target of all of these cones of fire. So that's all good. As you can see, the Enhancement Shaman does significant DPS. The more people are nearby, the more enemies they fight. So very important that you consider that. Now, on to the last boss. We want to make sure we watch our feet a lot for his Molten Torrent, and the healer has actually just asked for a minute. I believe he has. Oh, that may have been for quite a while ago. Oh, I wasn't looking at the chat. My own mistake there. But, I'm just a DPSer at this point. But that's not really an excuse. You can't really say, I'm just a DPSer, so I didn't have to pay attention. You do. You always have to think about things like that. Alright, so we're going to move forward. We're going to pop our Bloodlust. Going to use all of our spells as we get in here. Going to put everything on cooldown. And then we will use our Ascendance when I move out of melee range here to avoid this Molten Eruption. And we'll interrupt whenever we can as well. So, just happily using our spells. Going to use our Liquid Magma here as well. Oh, looks like we accidentally interrupted the Flame Buffet. We'll put down a Grounding Totem to help sort that out. We'll then use an Earth Grab Totem to help slow this guy, because this guy's very important that he dies. So we'll use our single target abilities at this point, because he's too far away from the boss for multi-target to be an issue. We'll use Ghost Wolf at this point, and then interrupt that. Using Ghost Wolf whenever we can to get back in range of the boss, so that we move faster. Every little bit of DPS counts. Every split second you spend closer to the boss is important. Looks like we can't interrupt that one, because we interrupted the last one. But we'll actually get down a Grounding Totem at this point as well. So we'll get our Unstable Slide going. Actually, it looks like we can just kill the boss at this point. Make judgment calls like that. Think about, oh, this won't be an issue if we just kill the boss. So we'll just stay at the edge of this fire and happily kill him. So there we go. We'll quickly just say thanks, folks. Make sure we spell that correctly. and then we will leave the group. So that will conclude this guide. I know it wasn't exactly the best thing in the world because I haven't been playing Enhancement for a while, but as I said, make sure you learn from my mistakes, because I might as well make them because I'm the one making the video. That's just what Sod's Law dictates. But in any case, I hope you enjoyed this guide and you found it helpful. If you want to see this in a more kind of guide edited format, you can click the annotation on screen now or use the link in the description to watch my Enhancement Shaman guide. Hopefully that's how you reach this video, and hopefully you'll have a good look at both and they will help you out. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, or feedback, just use the links in the description to contact me, or just leave a comment. I'm more than happy to have a chat with you folks about the Enhancement Shamans, the mistakes I made, and if you have any questions, I'm sure either me or an experienced Enhancement Shaman, which hopefully we can attract to these videos, will be able to answer for you. As always, I offer my heartfelt thanks to the patrons they help me make these guides. It's just as simple as that. They help me make these videos, and Bear of Bark, who was our tank today, was one of those patrons. Thank you very much, Bear, for helping out with this guide, and thank you very much to all the patrons for supporting the channel. You can use links in the description to have a look at all that stuff. Finally, I wish you the best of luck in the World of Warcraft, and I will see you folks next time.